James Abram Garfield was born on November 19, 1831, in a log cabin in Orange Township, Ohio. His father, Abram Garfield, died when James was just 18 months old, leaving his mother, Eliza Ballou Garfield, to raise four children in poverty. Garfield grew up performing strenuous farm work, chopping wood, and helping support the household. Despite limited means, his mother placed a strong emphasis on education and personal improvement, which shaped Garfield's early worldview. As a teenager, Garfield worked as a canal boat driver on the Ohio Canal, a job that exposed him to harsh conditions and inspired him to seek more stable opportunities through schooling. He enrolled in the Geauga Seminary at age 17, where he discovered an aptitude for languages, public speaking, and classical studies. These formative years established the themes that would define Garfield's life: perseverance, intellectual ambition, and a conviction that education was the most reliable path out of hardship. After completing studies at Geauga Seminary, Garfield pursued higher education with determination. He worked various jobs to fund his schooling, including carpentry, teaching, and janitorial tasks. In 1851, he enrolled at the Western Reserve Eclectic Institute, later known as Hiram College, where he excelled in academics and soon became both a student leader and a part-time instructor. Garfield's intellectual promise earned him admission to Williams College in Massachusetts, where he transferred in 1854. He thrived in the rigorous academic environment and graduated in 1856 with honors. Upon returning to Ohio, he joined the faculty of the Western Reserve Eclectic Institute and rapidly advanced to the position of college president at only 26 years old. His early experience as an educator solidified his reputation as a gifted orator, scholar, and advocate of liberal education. The foundations of his future political career were laid in this period through his community involvement and public speaking engagements. Garfield's leadership roles in education and his strong speaking abilities led to growing local attention. During this period, national debates over slavery were intensifying, and Garfield aligned himself with the newly formed Republican Party. He firmly opposed the expansion of slavery into the Western territories and supported policies emphasizing national unity and free labor. In 1859, at age 27, Garfield was elected to the Ohio State Senate. There he spoke out against the institution of slavery and supported measures that strengthened state readiness in case of national conflict. His early political career demonstrated his belief in the preservation of the Union and his commitment to civil rights for all Americans. Garfield's time in the Ohio legislature also further developed his skills in legislative debate, coalition building, and policy analysis. These years positioned him as a rising figure in the Republican Party on the eve of the Civil War. With the onset of the Civil War in 1861, Garfield volunteered for service and was commissioned as a lieutenant colonel in the 42nd Ohio Infantry. Lacking formal military experience, he studied military strategy extensively and gained the trust of his men through organization and discipline. His first major assignment came in eastern Kentucky, where Confederate forces threatened the region. In January 1862, Garfield led Union troops in the Battle of Middle Creek. His decisive actions and tactical planning secured a Union victory, helping drive Confederate forces out of the area. This success earned him national recognition and a promotion to brigadier general, making him one of the youngest generals in the Union Army. His leadership in this campaign demonstrated adaptability, strategic thinking, and personal courage, qualities that would later contribute to his political reputation. Following Middle Creek, Garfield continued to distinguish himself in the war. He served on the staff of Major General William S. Rosecrans. As Chief of Staff for the Army of the Cumberland, Garfield played a significant analytical role in advising commanders during the Tullahoma campaign and contributed to strategic planning in operations across Tennessee. Meanwhile, In 1862, while still serving in the military, Garfield was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from Ohio's 19th District. Though he initially resisted leaving military service, President Lincoln encouraged him to take his seat in Congress, believing Garfield would be more valuable in Washington. Garfield resigned his commission in December 1863 to begin his legislative work. His dual status as both a respected general and an elected official significantly elevated his national profile. Garfield served in the House of Representatives for 17 years, one of the longest tenures of any future U.S. president. During this period, he became known for his intellectual approach to legislation, his eloquent speeches, and his work on key Reconstruction policies. Garfield supported the 14th and 15th Amendments, advocated for civil rights for freedmen, and backed measures promoting public education and economic modernization. He became an expert on financial policy and served on the powerful House Appropriations Committee, eventually becoming its chairman. Later, he chaired the House Ways and Means Committee and advocated for stable currency policy following the Civil War. Garfield also became known for challenging political corruption and patronage. This consistent advocacy for reform and constitutional governance ultimately positioned him as a leading national Republican figure. During the 1870s, Garfield's congressional career faced significant challenges. His name became associated with the Crady Mobilier scandal, involving the Union Pacific Railroad's construction company. Although the evidence indicated that Garfield had been offered stock, he insisted that he neither paid for nor received dividends. A congressional investigation found insufficient evidence to prove corruption, but the association nonetheless caused political damage. Garfield was also involved in the controversy surrounding the 1873 Salary Grab Act, which increased congressional pay. While he ultimately returned his salary increase, the episode contributed to public criticism. Despite these difficulties, Garfield's broader reputation for integrity survived, due in part to his legislative record and his consistent advocacy for civil service reform. These events shaped public expectations of his later presidency, highlighting the national demand for cleaner, more accountable governance. In early 1880, the Ohio legislature elected Garfield to the United States Senate, marking the next step in his political ascent. However, his career took a dramatic turn later that year. At the Republican National Convention, originally attending as campaign manager for Treasury Secretary John Sherman, Garfield delivered speeches that impressed delegates with their clarity and fairness. As the convention deadlocked between leading candidates, Garfield unexpectedly emerged as a compromise option acceptable to multiple factions. Despite his insistence that he was not seeking the nomination, delegates gradually shifted their support until he secured the presidential nomination. He selected Chester A. Arthur as his running mate to balance party factions. In the general election, Garfield defeated Democrat Winfield Scott Hancock by a narrow popular vote margin, but achieved a solid electoral college victory, becoming the 20th President of the United States. Garfield entered the presidency determined to pursue civil service reform, strengthen executive authority, and reduce the influence of party patronage networks. One of his first major tests involved a dispute over control of federal appointments in New York, particularly with Senator Roscoe Conkling. Garfield resisted attempts by Conkling's faction to dominate appointments, asserting presidential authority over the process. His firm stance ultimately led to Conkling's resignation from the Senate, which was seen as a victory for reformers. Garfield also supported policies promoting economic development, modernization of the Navy, and expanded education for African Americans. In foreign affairs, he favored strengthening ties with Latin America. Although his time in office was short, Garfield demonstrated a commitment to strengthening federal administration and curbing entrenched political favoritism. Garfield's presidency was cut short on July 2, 1881, when he was shot by Charles J. Guiteau, a disgruntled office seeker at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in Washington, D.C. The shooting did not immediately kill him, but his condition worsened due to infection and inadequate medical practices of the era. Garfield endured months of suffering as physicians attempted various treatments, including unsuccessful attempts to locate the bullet. He was moved to the Jersey Shore in hopes that cooler air would improve his condition. On September 19, 1881, James A. Garfield died at age 49. His assassination intensified national calls for civil service reform, helping lead to the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act during the administration of his successor, Chester Arthur. Though his presidency lasted only 200 days, Garfield is remembered for his intellectual abilities, his military and legislative service, and his influence on reform movements that followed his death.